Hey everyone, 365 Days of Horsemanship, day 359. I'm really happy with the day that I had today, actually. I had a freedom-based training day, which was really nice. I feel like it's been a couple of days. I've been super busy with work and some of the other horses needed some attention, and so I just kind of haven't had the plan that I thought that I would have, which would have been to be kind of riding Mia every day, and still working with Lawrence on the same freedom-based stuff that I'm working on at the moment with sort of getting comfortable at the touching distance, and also maybe doing another gym session with him, and it hasn't quite worked out so far. But I'm really happy with today because today felt like a really productive freedom-based training session with both of the horses. I filmed actually for the first time in quite some time. I went through a period where I was trying to film every day, or most days, and then I had this idea that I would kind of rewatch the videos and find the stuff that was good, and kind of didn't really work out that way because I ended up hoarding a lot of the footage, and I also find that the energy really changes when I have the camera with me because, of course, I want to do things. And in the past, that's always kind of felt like a negative change. But today was the first time, really interestingly, I felt like it was a positive change because it kind of empowered me and pushed me to try new things. I had a really interesting conversation with a couple of people from one of the freedom-based training study groups that I'm in yesterday evening about it being okay to increase the pressure or stimulate stress going up, as long as the outcome from that is that everybody feels better. And ultimately, asking a question, you are stimulating, when I'm talking about stress, it's arousal, it's stimulating, hopefully, curiosity and keeping that curiosity below the line of concern. And so with Mia today, Mia is sort of easier on this front in terms of the freedom-based training work, because actually she is quite comfortable at the touching distance, much more comfortable naturally than Lawrence is. And so I can push on her a lot more, and she's just kind of okay with that. Whereas with Lawrence, once he feels overwhelmed, pretty much even just coming to touch him, it really gets kind of worse and worse throughout the session if I overdo it at any point. And yeah, so with Mia, I basically was working today on sort of rocking and yielding, which is something that Lawrence and I just can't really talk about. It is the end goal, but at the moment he doesn't really have the pieces that he needs to get there. He's not really tolerant or accepting. I would say he is tolerant to varying degrees, but he's not really accepting of me being at the touching distance really at all. He's much better than he was, but there's definitely still this feeling of a time limit all the time, and reliably, if that time limit is reached, he will start leaving. Whereas with Mia, that's different. So with Mia today, we were working, and I will post a video, which is really exciting. But yeah, we worked a lot on just me kind of coming over and working on levels or different variations of supportive leadership that included rocking her into a focus change. And I found that today she was quite open to spending time with me, and I think that was really nice because I felt when I arrived, she came straight over to see me. She wanted some scratches on her face, and I felt immediately that I could have halted her and brought her up, and she would have been in quite a good mood to do some work, which definitely is obviously different from the last couple of times where she's really felt this need to relax and to sleep. And so I was really happy, firstly, just to see that level of engagement with me and with my arrival. And secondly, I think it was really nice to not take advantage of that. And today just really work on the freedom-based training stuff. So so that was a really good initial meeting of us both. And then basically as the session went on, it was a case of just repeating the pattern of varying the type of support that I was offering her and allowing it to be occasionally more active or sort of more like directly related to potentially yielding her. And I had some really nice results. Like there was a lot of movement in the session. Like what would happen is like I would increase kind of the activity of my support rather than just the walking, and we would get some really nice category changes out of that. And then we would have a small moment of flow, and then she would start walking again. And then we would kind of move to a different place. We would do a little bit of flow. I would rearrange the camera and we'd kind of start again with that same pattern. And I think it's an interesting thing. I think probably when I reflect back on the session with Mia, what I would probably take from it is to say, okay, if I'm going to play with that level of intensity again, I should think about if we've just done something really difficult, like having that moment of flow, but then starting walking sooner. Because I think she feels the need sometimes to walk her feelings out. Like she needs to like just take a walk and think about it. And I think this is probably a game that she feels the need to think about. And that's totally okay. And I think it was also really good for me because it was a much more interesting session, I think, for both of us than me kind of just working on the basic walking pattern, because I have to walk for quite a long time with Mia before I'll get a category change, because she's quite relaxed about me moving around her, and she's kind of got her focus, her small focus changes are kind of, she feels that those are enough for her. Like if you really dig down into how balanced she is, if she can achieve all of her focus categories while eating, and that is how she manages to eat so much. And so now it's about kind of encouraging her to have more of those category changes, and actually realizing that for her, when I put that little bit more kind of pressure on and that little bit of extra just activity around her, where I'm actually pushing into her and my support is more at the touching distance, that actually stimulates more curiosity. And then I think the way that I'm going to prevent that from tipping over into concern is by making sure that I get moving before her. So it was a really good session. I was really happy with it. And then I went and spent some time with Lawrence, and again, really kind of tried to push the boundaries with him, and that was really interesting too, because I had some conversations about scratching, which went quite well. Definitely if I start the pushing game now, like what's happening is that like he'll ask me for scratches, I'll give him scratches, I'll scratch him until there'll be like a good moment or a good feeling. After the good feeling, then there'll be some kind of amount of flow. And then he'll probably kind of start asking me again. I'll try to kind of move before he starts asking me again, to try to sort of get him out of the repeating pattern of like, and can you scratch me, and can you scratch me, and can you scratch me, and like kind of promote there being like, oh, we did one scratch, now we're going to do something else and we'll come back to it later, rather than getting stuck in the cycle of like scratching and scratching and scratching for like half an hour. And yeah, and I found that when I was getting stuck in that cycle and it wasn't going back to a different focus, then altering my support to, when I say pushing with Lawrence, it's really not pushing. The difference between pushing Mia and pushing Lawrence is quite interesting to see, because like with Lawrence, it's a case of just kind of coming up, like touching his skin and then leaving. And even that, might stimulate him to move after a couple of seconds, that he might then feel the need to like start leaving the situation. Whereas with Mia, like you can push on her like 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and as long as you kind of escalate up and then escalate, kind of de-escalate back down again, maybe alter your support, do something else, like she can handle that, tolerate that, think about that for quite some time, and then probably have a positive focus change, a positive change in her stress level to be more curious as a result. So yeah, with Lawrence, it was really interesting. Definitely, I think I'm feeling braver these days to stimulate Lawrence up, because I found that I was in a pattern with him today where even if things became overwhelming for him, his counter offer, or where his brain seemed to go next, is that he would increase the distance between us, but then he would become very curious about the environment, which I think is his coping mechanism. He wants to go and check out the herd. He wants to go and check out the environment. And so it gave us an opportunity to do some distance work that felt really successful to both of us, because he was doing a lot of focus changes. So I think it's just going to be about getting into that pattern with him, and potentially knowing that if I want to push harder and increase that pressure, that actually what I can do is come in, ask that question, then move to a really far distance, so I'm already where he would put me, and then when he feels like being curious, potentially we're going to be able to do that together. I think that's going to be quite a powerful pattern for him. So yeah, just kind of when I'm playing approach and retreat with Lawrence, just kind of really increasing the distance if I'm asking for a more difficult question, and allowing him to kind of seek me out and say, oh, actually it's okay, you can be closer, just to kind of interrupt that psychological feeling of needing to leave. So that was really exciting and interesting. I'm really happy that I filmed, and I'm also really happy that I've done this video and talked about it. I'm definitely, obviously, you know, I have 6 days left of this project after this, and I'm kind of like got a few ideas about where I'm going to go with Horseman's Log after this, and yeah, how it's going to work for me and for you guys. And yeah, so I'm really excited to kind of have the opportunity to really dive in a little bit more deeply, and have kind of sessions where I'm having a few days where I don't have to blog every day or vlog every day, but then like having these sessions like today where I can really invest the time, and I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm definitely not going away after this project. I love the fact that I'm going to be able to look back and see what I was kind of doing on day one, and what I'm going to be doing on day 365, and just kind of really see the difference and how far we've come. And that's really exciting to me, and I can't wait to keep keep tracking and keep recording the journey that I'm going through as personally as a horseman, and then also the journeys of both of the horses and whoever else I meet in the future. So yeah, it's really interesting, exciting time. There's lots of stuff on the horizon, which is very cool. So yeah, really excited.